Hey everyone, hello.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Thank you for joining us today. We have this welcome to our AI at Work series. We have this little icebreaker going on every time when you write where you're joining from in the chat. So tell us where you're joining from um, and tell us how do you feel today? We feel pretty excited to speak about prompt engineering and mostly context engineering, and why we think that prompting is kind of dead. Um, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Meggie. I'm a product marketer at Juma. I was about to say team-gpt for a second, but we rebranded. I am a product marketer at Juma, and I've been enjoying most of our webinars. And I very much enjoy this like meeting with you, speaking to you. And together with me, I have Moni, our head of product. Moni, I'll give you the floor to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I feel more like a guest in this situation and not so much like a co host, but it feels good. I'm head of product at Juma. I've been with the product since the very beginning. Currently, I think I'm much more in a consulting position. I take care of our customers, our clients, and I onboard them. I set up workspaces for them. And honestly, I think about context and context engineering like 70 times a week. So this is this topic is very close to home. And I'm
It's
looking.
also a hot topic. It's trendy because the whole ecosystem, the whole AI environment is shifting towards this.
Oh
So
yeah, absolutely.
it makes sense why since I also like Juma is mostly optimized for context, and this is how we work. That's why I figured that it's going to be very cool if we jump in and just speak about it in a more like laid down, easy way, and explain to people how we feel about it. I'm going to share my screen. Um, Moni, just let me know,
Mhm.
confirm if
Mhm.
you see this. Okay.
I do see the screen.
Yes. So this is our agenda for today. Um, I have some slides prepared. However, it's going to be, I feel like, more of a conversation between us. But still, I have some talk.
Can you guys still hear Maggie, or is the issue on my end only?
Oh, did I break?
You did break for a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry. I also received a notification. So yeah, um, where was I? Yeah, I have some slides going on because we'll probably dump a lot of information, and maybe it's going to also be easier for people to look at something while we speak. But let's start. Let's kick it off. Our agenda for today it's basically about speaking why prompting breaks down, and why this results in a shift to context engineering, how different AI tools and also Juma handle context. I'm going to do a very short demo. Um, and about how I've set up some projects that I work with in Juma, and maybe some tips and tricks about your action plan, and a little bit of Q&A. So, um, you probably already know how to write a good prompt. I'm pretty sure that all of you already use a lot of AI. Many of you are probably Joomla users, so you know how to build prompts. You add structure, you give examples, you use some prompting techniques, and then the output is solid at the very end. But this is how it actually looks like when you take this approach. You like end up writing these huge prompts, and you end up writing this almost every day, a couple of times per day, like this huge chunk of text. And for different tasks, every week, every day, across your whole team, you just repeat the same thing over and over again. And this prompt works, and in a way, prompt engineering is not like dead as we say it, because we still prompt, of course. But it's just that doing this thing over and over again, like having this huge chunk of information over and over again, uh, just there's a better way to do it. Let's say it like that. And actually, like there's a couple of things that we constantly kept running into, and this is where prompting breaks. Is that first one? There's no consistency, meaning that you can write a great prompt, sure, you can save it, but also not all of your team members have access to it. And then in the next week, you might have a similar task, and you need to give away the whole context to the AI once again inside your prompt, and you keep repeating and repeating. And if someone else needs it, they start over. And so then you repeat yourself constantly. You just need um, to start to repeat the same prompt when you have, as I said, similar tasks every time, and it just doesn't save. It's not saved across your chats. And also, your knowledge disappears. If you can enter a prompt, and then eventually, after you've sent many messages, this prompt gets lost inside the chat. If you have a new project, you need to start over with prompting and giving us the same context, and so on. And this is basically how the AI works. The models don't basically remember everything between your chats, and what feels like the memory in ChatGPT is basically the app saving notes and putting them back every time for you. So this memory is also how OpenAI optimized for context in a way. Um, and then um, I've I've said this many times when I'm presenting and when I'm speaking to people, that marketing runs on knowledge. You have product specifications, you have audience profiles, you have tone of voice, campaign learnings, and it doesn't matter if you are a marketing team or a marketing consultant, a freelancer, like an individual, or you're working for an agency. You just have many things that are your own context, and giving your own context to the AI in each specific chat basically doesn't scale. First, maybe you won't remember to give it everything it needs, and also this the model itself resets completely every time. So yeah, your stuff piles up and your chats disappear. So basically, we need to build better systems around these, and not to optimize for better questions, but to optimize for better systems. So what do we do instead? We switch from prompts to context. Um, this is the term that the AI industry is using. It's context engineering, and it sounds technical, but not really. And here's the difference. Basically, the prompt engineering is about how you phrase your request, how you ask the AI to perform the tasks for you. And context engineering is about what information the AI has access to when it answers, what it knows about you, the background information that it knows about your industry, about your work, about your client, if you're working with clients, and so on. So, in the short, number one is about the question, and the other one is the knowledge behind the question. And here is why context matters more. You can screenshot this if you want. That's not the most beautiful table I did in this presentation, but I think that it still proves my point. But basically, with prompt engineering, your core question is, how should I phrase this? How should I give it to the AI? And when you optimize for context engineering and you give good context to the AI, you're asking yourself, what does the AI need to know for my project, for my task? What is the relevant information that it needs to pull from? Um, with prompt engineering, it's just one message you prompt, and it's one message going on there. And with context engineering, it's basically that's a whole workflow. In Juma, when you create the projects, you know that when you add context to project knowledge, every chat you create inside that project keeps the same context in mind. So basically, you don't need to re-explain, and that becomes a whole workflow around the context that you're building. um, Also, most of the other stuff are mostly technicalities, but basically, when you write a good prompt, you benefit from the prompt, you get a good response, and it's not that it doesn't work when you prompt well. The thing is that it's time consuming, and it's not optimized for the system. And with context engineering, your team also benefits. You share projects, and it happens every time inside um, each chat. And also, of course, you can reuse this forever. Um, um, Basically, there are three ways in which AI can go wrong when you optimize for context engineering.
Can I'm sorry, Maggie, can I step in for a second just to add a little bit more?
Yes,
Because I
I'll
see
be
some
very
questions.
happy if you do.
Because I'm seeing some questions in the chat, and if we can go back
Of course, yes.
where we talk about the difference between what a prompt is and what context engineering is. I just want to say, yes, prompts are how you ask the AI to do things. Prompts are more limited also in their format. Within a single prompt, you are basically using language to explain and give instructions to the AI what it should be doing, to also give background information about yourself, your clients, your business, your expertise. Then maybe you can share a little bit of know-how on how the AI should do or complete the task. Then you can specify what the output should be, and then you can attach some files to kind of support that. When you do context engineering, context can take a lot of different shapes and forms. It doesn't have to be only dropping files or only writing information. You can write instructions. You can add a manual that the AI is going to be looking at relevant times. You can write methodologies. You can set some standards. You can also provide examples in your context. You can provide the specific formats in which you would like the AI to output the information every time or when completing a particular task. And then again, you can also add this thing that I call pure information or like background information, which is a lot of things like what is the audience for the client, for example, or what is the ethos of the company, or who are the competitors, your SEO data, for example. And all of that is just extra context. But the really cool thing about context engineering, and the reason why it's so much more powerful than prompting, is once you build out this library, this knowledge for a certain project, then since almost all of the AI systems now are becoming much more clever, they usually have some agents in the back doing a bit of thinking. Um, in Juma as well, we have a lot of that happening in the background. Once you load up all of that relevant context, the AI in the back, the agent in the back, once you give it a task, it goes into that context, it browses through what's available, and then it chooses the most relevant parts of that context to actually dig deeper into and follow much more strictly than when you put them in a prompt and then you have a very long chat. So I think that it's very important to understand that other than being reusable, it also context engineering allows allows us to create a much more powerful system, and a system that listens to us in our specific use cases. If we provide, for example, instructions, and I'm going to jump in a bit later when Meggie shows you the platform actually, and I'm going to clarify exactly what I mean by instructions. But if you provide instructions, you say, hey, I'm going to set up this project, and in this project, the AI, are a content creation specialist, and you're going to do 6 things. When you're doing thing number 1, look at the file that I have uploaded in your project knowledge. It contains the steps and the criteria for how you should execute that task. And then when you go inside of the chat and when you trigger kind of like this type of workflow, then the AI will ignore a lot of the other stuff that you have added to the context, but it will very much zoom in to how you have told it to use the resources that it has. And I think that that's very powerful when you can build massive projects that do a lot of different things. So yeah, that's all that I wanted to add. You can carry on if you would like.
Thank you, Moni, so much.
You can also pass it on to me. I can jump in.
Yeah, I will definitely need you for this other one because I think that maybe you have some tips and tricks around it. There are probably like 3 ways that the AI, like the models, can go wrong when you context engineer. Uh, First one is, of course, when the AI has too little context, when it doesn't have enough information, so it kind of guesses and it fills in blank spots with stuff that's made up, and that's basically where model, sorry, where hallucinations come from. Not because like the model is bad or anything, but because it didn't have what it needed, or like the platform is bad. The other one is quite the opposite. It's too much context, like when you dump everything in and the AI cannot figure out what matters, and its attention gets spread between many, many different things, and output gets very generic and unfocused. Maybe one you can mention from your experience when you work with Juma users, because I've seen that many, many times. Always the question has been, how much information do I need to give the Juma basically in project knowledge to execute the tasks? And I've always been continuously telling people that it's not about the volume, but it's the context needs to be curated according to the task, and it's optimal if it's not full with many, many stuff that are not relevant to what you do. um, and basically, you can also, I will mention this later, but you can also try to not pollute with wrong context, which is basically outdated documents, conflicting guidelines, irrelevant information, because the AI may sometimes treat everything as equally true. And also sometimes that happens when people upload 2 types of documents that have contradicting information. That's also pretty bad. But yeah, the right context is basically well curated, current, it's relevant, and then the tool that you're using, will know exactly what it needs to pull from, and then your output will be focused. Moni, do you have any other anything to add on basically building the context in a way? Have you noticed any more red flags when you're speaking to people?
Uh, I wouldn't call them red flags. I think all of us are kind of learning how to use AI, and we're kind of exploring and experimenting with different things. But I know that there's certain approaches or expectations that don't necessarily deliver the best results. So, for example, when you talk about adding too much context, one way to add too much context is to add many, many different files. The other way to add too much context is to put everything into a single file and just upload that. Typically, that doesn't work very well. I have an example from actually quite recently. I talked to a client of ours, and they were interested in uploading a massive thesaurus, for example, a single file, like thousands of pages, to use as context, and that is not going to work within a system that is like Juma, because the AI, usually AI agents in the back, when they're kind of sifting through the context items that they have, they take a look at a type of summary of the file. And there's no meaningful way to actually summarize a massive file that contains so much different, like a lot of different information, a lot of different types of information inside of it. So one advice that I would give to you is, when you are uploading context, make sure that your files are more concentrated on a single topic, for example. So the AI can choose the relevant file more easily and more accurately each time. Another very boring, I think, advice that I have is name your files correctly. If you're adding an example, for example, so if you're adding a bunch of files to your context, and some of them are templates and examples, but they're still filled out, and they still contain information that the AI might see as relevant. And that information might be used to pollute your responses. Just label your file very clearly as example. Another thing that you can do is, in your project instructions, like in the info section of your project, you can tell the AI, hey, you have access to this and this and this and this file, and just give a short description. And when I do that for our clients, the way that I do it with AI. Like, I just give Juma the files, and I ask for short descriptions, and I say, hey, I'm going to add this to my project as context for the AI. Just summarize those files so the AI knows how to read them. The whole process of building context for AI can be very AI driven. You don't have to do that much manual labor. I think that the best way that your expertise as the professionals who are using AI to do certain types of work, the best way that this comes in is in figuring out what are the right chunks or groups of files or context that you want to provide to the AI.
Yeah. Completely agree. Thank you, Moni. I started a poll, by the way, and sorry if I interrupted you, and if it appeared on your screen, but I started a poll while we were speaking, so I'll be very happy for people's input, because I'm curious to learn some things. But yeah, building on that, what we just said, I think that, so there's a very simple formula that we've been speaking about way before context engineering was an actual hot term in the field. And this formula is that context plus task equals to the greatest AI output. So um, again, context is examples, it's PDFs, it's brand voice documents, it's images, even it could be videos, it could be websites, all kinds of data, and basically whatever your guys' team works with. And task is just your short ask, like, I need a social media calendar for this campaign that we're launching, for example. And the thing is that when the context is already there and you have it inside the tool and the system that you're using, the task becomes very tiny. And that's, for example, an example um, I tested before the presentation. But basically, without context, you write this full prompt, and as you know, it can be a lot longer if you want to provide like huge chunks of different information. It could be like this huge block of text. But then when you have the right context, you'll get the same result and probably even better. And this is only the fraction of the work. And anyone from your team can get the same thing if you use a shared workspace like Juma, where basically this context is shared with your whole team. And when people think about AI tools and AI models, they picture this. They picture a chat box. But like, you go to this box, you type something, and you get something back. But chat has become kind of how we talk about to all kinds of tool nows. And for example, with ChatGPT and Claude, you can chat, but they can also search the web. They can analyze spreadsheets, read files, connect to Google Drive and Gmail. The same as Juma, you can have some agentic workflows going on in the back. With Lovable, you describe a website, give it a reference URL, it builds a working website out of it. With Cursor, developers basically describe what they want in plain English and it writes code. So this what we used to go to, the tools that we used to go to and think of them as chatbots are now full toolkits. And basically the chat is just how you talk to them and ask them for to complete your task in a way. So what makes these system work sorry, it's not the chat, but it's basically what's behind it. And Lovable builds great websites, for example, because you give it a lot of references and you give it assets, and you say, for example, this is the color scheme that I want my website to be in. And Cursor writes good code because it sees your code base. And other tools like Claude and Juma and so on, they give you better answers because you upload documents and you set up instructions. So basically, your context shapes the output. And the chat is where you just write your simple task. And every tool is going to this direction, or most of the tools I feel like go to this direction. In Juma, we went all in on it. And context is not something that we added on top, and it's how the whole platform, the whole system works. Um, the people here that are Juma users, you know that we have these projects where you can add brand voice and product knowledge and audience and examples and files, and they're all loaded inside. And you know that every chat has everything that references everything that you've added. And I am going to show you in a bit, and Moni will also maybe help me in showing you some stuff inside of the Juma platform and how we're building the stuff ourselves, which I think will be very helpful for you. But before that, I just want to once again very quickly go through the do's and don'ts in a way that we kind of spoke about, but still, as I said, I very often I hear, should I give AI more context, and like upload everything for our brand, like all of our documents for the past 5 years, and every meeting note that we have, and the old briefs and so on. But the thing is that this makes it much worse, and AI has a limit on how much it can process, and before you even hit that, usually performance drops. So research shows that the accuracy falls for 14 to 85% to when you overload the AI. And there's also something called lost in the middle, that is basically stuff that is in the center of a long context. It just gets skipped. And everything you include affects the output, and everything gets a vote, and all brand guidelines compete with new ones, so conflicting instruction confuse the models, and the model can try to do everything, the tool can try to do everything, and then um, it can do nothing well. Monique, do you have any more tricks? I think that you shared quite a lot, but maybe you might have remembered something else.
No, I just wanted to kind of bring this back to chunking, ensuring that your context is in the right chunks. Because this lost in the middle effect, for example, it's when your context piece is super, super long. If you chunk it into several more manageable pieces and give some instructions, basic instructions, simple English instructions to the AI when to refer to that, usually it would perform much, much better. And to your other point, whether users can upload everything they have about their company inside of whatever AI system they're using. Again, this is not necessarily bad as long as you ensure that you are doing it in the proper informational chunks that are coherent within themselves as units, and also you provide some information and guidance to the AI when certain things are relevant to be looked at and used. Because yes, it will get overwhelmed, but it's like a very clever employee that's just starting out in your company. You need to guide it, and then you will get better results. Yeah.
I completely agree, and actually, there's something I use when I build projects in Juma. Very often, I upload a couple of files, and then in the project info and instructions, I basically instruct the AI, if we have an X situation, choose file A. If I ask you for a B thing, go through file B, and so on.
I actually want to say something else. Sorry to interrupt. There was a question in the chat, which I thought we were going to answer a little bit later, but I think it's kind of relevant to answer right now. The question, if I understood correctly, basically says something along the lines, even when you're context engineering, isn't this again kind of like prompt engineering in a way? Because if you have to say to the AI how to be using the context, then yes, you are still prompt engineering, but the difference is that you're doing it once. You're doing it to build a system that can be used repeatedly and deliver reliable results. And you're no longer kind of doing this 6 times a day or like 20 times a day. And you don't have to collect your thoughts that many times a day. You kind of have to sit down, do it once, be more deliberate about how you're setting up your system, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. Updating it takes a lot less resources than setting it up. It happens very naturally. And at some point, I think that the whole process kind of becomes gamified. At least that's how it is with me. Once I know that I have the system set up, tweaking it becomes fun. Optimizing it becomes fun. It gives me a particular type of satisfaction when I get to improve my outputs. But yeah, context engineering, prompt engineering is not necessarily dead. Prompting, continuous prompting, every day, long prompts is kind of, I think, becoming more and more outdated just because it's not using the powerful systems now in place. But we're still prompt engineering, just so we can feed the context engineering.
I agree, but I just needed the clickbaity title for the webinar so that people join, because I'm a marketer out there.
Now I want to be honest.
I'm joking, of course, but yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just that this tiresome work that we're trying to get rid of in a way.
That is for sure.
Yeah, so I also have some do's for you. Again, we mentioned, I feel like, many of them. But one, keep it current. Two, add very good examples. We even have an example field inside of Juma in Project Knowledge. Test with your team, iterate on it. The thing is that, also stepping on something that you said, uh, I think that there is a bit of work on keeping your projects up to date and like working well. And I optimize my projects all the time. I even, by the way, there's a trick, but I very often go and ask my project, like, give yourself a score from 1 to 100 for my task. And then it gives me a score of how well optimized the project is for what I wanted to do. And Juma actually even gives me suggestions. I had this for my SEO assistant that I'm going to show you guys in a bit, but I asked Juma to evaluate itself, the project itself, to evaluate itself. And it went through all the documents and it was like, well, you know what? I have this information three times in three different documents and I don't need it. Maybe consider revising. Or I have this info. Could you check this because, maybe I have some conflicting info over here and so on. And I think that's a very cool way to also um, test your projects. And also, like, the point is to work together with the AI, and Juma and the other tools will can help you build these systems. Um, so yeah, test with your team, and test with AI also. As we said, keep only what's relevant, review and update, very important, and start fresh when chats get too long, because uh, the system itself, like the model itself, gets overwhelmed at some point by your information. Moni, do you want to say something before I jump in to my live showcase?
No, thank you. I have no further comments at this point.
Okay,
This
so
was
I'm gonna
very.
switch to our workspace, to our Juma workspace. And since this is just a webinar, I won't go into a lot of details, but I want to show you two projects that I've built. One is the SEO assistant that I will probably show in a like a flow in a playbook format very soon, because I'm very much satisfied of how it works. And the other is one client project I created, that is a kind of a dummy project, because that's a non-existent brand, but I'd like to show how this would work for agencies that work with clients. And I'm going to super quickly walk you through how I've set up some things. This is the SEO assistant project that has the project info inside, and here I have added a persona. I have added the mission that it needs to follow. I have this file protocol. I ask it to explicitly fetch and reference the files, some of the files, um, and use our SEO tool for all keyword data. We're going to launch this to the full user base very soon. For now, we're testing this on our workspace, but we are going to announce an SEO agent, and I work with it, and I'm very satisfied because it scrapes databases and it finds keywords relevant to our information. It does content gap analysis, SERP analysis, and so on. It's amazing. Um, I have a research protocol. I have a writing standard over here, interaction protocol, quality control. I ask it many times with such projects. I ask the AI to do some checks before giving me the final output. For example, here I have the AIO check, the bridge check, style check, visual check, and so on, that I think are important. And I'm asking the AI to evaluate itself, to evaluate its output. Over here, I have some data sources. There are quite a lot this time. I think that this is my most kind of resourceful project that I have. But I have a content brief template, a geo writing protocol, our topic clusters. And by the way, all of these are written with the help of AI. Like, I've asked Juma to search the web, to do a deep research. I also, by the way, reversed engineered our whole blog strategy with Juma. Like, I sent it information, I sent it articles, it did a very good analysis, and it came out with topic clusters and so on. I have some SEO master instructions, SEO strategy, and so on, and some other helpful materials that the AI doesn't go through every time, because I don't ask it to go through them every time. We have this, by the way, very helpful thing over here. You can pin some things that you want to be taken into consideration every time. So that's also in terms of prioritizing what type of context the AI scrapes. I have also added our blog page and web page. And now I can maybe show you very quick. I can just ask the AI, the project, what can you do for me? and let's say what it comes out with. But basically, this will show you all the stuff that this project can do. It does keyword research using live Ahrefs data, does competitor analysis, it audits websites, and so on. It writes full blog articles. They're optimized for AIO and GEO. It writes content briefs, um, and tracks performance, and so on. A simple workflow that I usually do, I won't go into many details, but for example, I choose a topic. Moni, give me a topic for a blog article.
Something about a super agent.
To write an article about
Marketing super agent, for example.
about a okay, a marketing super agent, and then I say write the brief first. It has an example brief inside project knowledge, so it's very it scrapes and it writes the thing. It asks me some follow-up questions because I have asked the AI if I don't give it enough information to basically take it from me. I have that in the instructions, but I will say search um, search to perform a keyword analysis. Um, I will leave that as blank because we don't have much time. And I'm going to say explainer. Just to trigger it because it might ask me some questions, but I will ask it to go. So now it is basically what Juma is doing is that it's going through our sitemap that we have given it, through our documents over here in project knowledge, and it's going to perform the keyword analysis and build the whole uh, the whole brief for me. Here you can see all of the files that it goes through. It's the SEO strategy, brief template, writing protocol, and so on. It will take, of course, some time for the tool to go through all the stuff and scrape all of the information because it's pretty intensive. But now it Juma tells me that it has the strategy docs and the schemas and is now doing the keyword research. So the tool is currently performing the analysis. Now it checks the SERP, and it's so funny because can you imagine how I'm doing all of this with like I don't know how much is that, like 2 sentences, 3 sentences, and it's so that's basically what I want to show you guys and why I think that this is an important stuff to speak about. That it takes me, I don't know, 3 minutes of my time for me to build this brief. And then after Juma is eventually we're doing all the um, here you can see that it scrapes some ranking explainer content to get reference. Sorry. So while the AI is doing this, basically I can I can focus on some other things and then come back. And when our output is ready, what we're going to do is just I'm going to follow up to the AI and ask it to build an article out of this brief. I will, to not waste more time, I will leave this agent over here. It failed to fetch, but it's self-healing, so it probably find another way to do it. I will leave this agent to work, our SEO agent to do its job, and I'm gonna come back just a bit later. I just want to show you this client project that I have created. If you are building context for a client and you're an agency that wants to build the stuff in projects, this is how this could look in a way. I have created this for my project, and over here I have the info, which is you're a marketing content creator and an expert AI marketing
Hey,
assistant.
Maggie,
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We had a cool question in the Q&A, and I think that right now it's exactly the right time for us to answer it. I already answered it in writing, but I just want to speak it out so maybe everybody can hear. The question was, how do we structure the instructions to the AI in the info panel, because they have some sort of formatting and they follow a certain order, let's say. And I just wanted to say that there are two methods. The first one, if I'm starting a project from scratch, I usually just go inside of the chat and I start explaining to the chat something like, hey, I'm building instructions for an AI agent to do this type of task with such and such expertise. I usually provide whatever process files I have, or like whatever other files. If I'm building a client folder, for example, I would add what the brief looks like, what type of what our product offering is or service offering is, just a bunch of the stuff about our business or how we're going to work with the client. I dump them in the chat. And I continue with, I say to the chat, these are the files that I have, analyze them, like take them, review them, analyze them, and help me create AI instructions that are going to guide an agent. I also say that I'm going to use the files that I'm giving it in the chat right now as reusable knowledge files, so it knows to refer to them, like when it's writing its own instruction. So it knows that it needs to refer to the specific types of files in the specific parts of the task. This is usually how I do it. The other option, and this is something that you do when you know a little bit better, or what exactly you want to do, you can go into that section there, the info section, and you can freehand a bunch of instructions, like a bunch of information. You can say stuff about yourself, your agency, or your client in that situation. What is your methodology here and there? Like some rough information. I don't spend that much time writing anything detailed. And then I just hit the magic wand, which Meggie can show you on the screen. And the magic wand is basically takes the freehand instructions that we have and it fleshes it out into properly formatted instructions for the AI to later use. One more thing that I wanted to mention, and I think that that's very important, is that project knowledge, what we're going to spend some time looking at now, how we have constructed it, it has two parts. One part is this info panel, which is your freehand text or text. And then it has all of the files that we refer to as context that the AI can choose to look at various times. However, the info panel is very, very important because this is the instruction that the AI always looks at. So everything that's important about your methodology, your ethos, your company's processes, or whatever, your criteria, everything that's super important about and would enable the AI to complete its work well should be added in here. It doesn't have to be added fully, like you don't have to go into so many details, but you have to specify, hey, I want you to follow this in this methodology and look at the file that we have uploaded, for example. But yeah, it's important to remember, on top in the info panel, we say to the AI how we want it to behave in the context of this project, for example. This is where we kind of control the behavior. And then in the file section, we just add everything that might be relevant at one point or another for the AI to do its job well. Sorry, I'm going to stop talking. Sorry for the interruption. I hope this was useful.
Thank you for interrupting me, Moni. That was very good. Yeah. Thank you for answering the questions also, because I'm not very much looking at the chat. I will check a bit later. But yeah, basically what I've done here is what you said. This structured project info looks in this way because I use the magic wand. I basically dumped some information about that dummy brand AI came up with. And I was like, this is it, just optimize it. This is my task. This is what I want to do. I want to do the demo and so on. So in our case, so as I said, if you're an agency and you want to do this to set up the projects for clients. This is an example way how you would do this. For example, do the core mission, the brand voice of the brand, the messaging guidelines, the messaging rules, target audience profiles, primary customer, content creation standards, and so on. Like you can add a lot of stuff in here. In our case, in my case, this dummy brand is about a um, cosmetic brand like sunscreen products and so on. And then here you can see that in files and images, I have added our product catalog, campaign brief, our audience profiles, brand voice guide, and content examples. I can also pull this information from different platforms if I want to. I can add web pages, different chats, brand voice examples, and so on. But I just figured I should keep it simple. And then if I do the same exercise again and I go here and I ask it, what can you do for me and Solara, which is the brand? The AI, basically, the assistant, this project, will tell you about all the stuff that it can do because of the information it has. Um, it even says, I have your brand voice, your audience profiles, examples. So everything I write stays on brand and factually accurate. It can perform keyword research. It can pull data from HubSpot if you connect HubSpot. Where next week we'll probably announce GA4 integration, also Google Console integration, Meta Ads, Google Ads, and so on. So it will be Juma will be able to pull in information from a lot more resources, a lot more platforms, sorry, and analyze your data. So yeah, and in this way, if I write, for example, write a social uh, media post for our product, let's say, super a bit vague, but still, like it should be able to pull from all of the data. Currently, it's asking some questions because it needs to clarify some things like which product, because it has our catalog and it needs to browse to the catalog to see the platform and so on. But still, I tested this thing earlier when I created the project. I asked it to generate a lifestyle image of our reset mist, and it basically got all the information that it has because I have the product catalog inside of project knowledge, and the AI generated the image with the packaging and everything on it. So since we don't have a lot of time, I will just come back to to the other chat where I asked the AI to do a brief for me, and basically this is what it came up with. Um, it doesn't have good search volume, so it advises me to take a different keyword and so on after it performed the analysis, and so on and so forth. And then it gave me the full brief um, that for some reason I cannot download right now, but still, like, it will
It's a,
the AI will, sorry.
it's a live demo. That's why you cannot download it.
Of course, that always happens. Yeah, when you live demo stuff, it's just everything's harder to do. But yeah, it gives me the full brief that I then can then later ask the AI just write the article according to your brief.
Oh,
And yeah, I will go back since we don't have much time just to wrap up this whole thing. I think Moni is the main expert here, but if you're wondering on how to start building, how to start with context engineering, um, you should find your patterns. Uh, like ask yourself, what do you keep trying to like to work with AI with? What are your tasks, your most repetitive tasks? What does your team keep re-explaining? And then write it down. Then build one project and pick up your most common task, load the context, instructions, examples, and so on in whatever platform you're working with, and then just test it. Um, uh, Test with short prompts, compare results, ask your team what's missing, and so on, and then refine what you have. Moni, you want to add something here?
I'm just gonna drop a link in the chat, just in case any of you are kind of onboarding new team members or are just starting to use Juma and you want to ensure adoption, and you're not sure how to do it or how to identify your use cases, on this page you're going to find a bit more information about how to actually approach this in a more structured and strategic way to get everybody on board, or like to empower the right people. So Juma, and in general AI use disseminates throughout the team. I don't want to add anything here specifically. I just want to be mindful that we have a couple of cool questions, and maybe we can spend a bit of time answering them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're ready for the Q&A. I just wanted to end on that note that prompting isn't disappearing, as we said, and you always tell the AI and instruct it for what you want, but spending basically your energy and time on perfect prompts, that's the thing that's over. And basically the teams that are winning right now are building better context, and in that way they're optimizing for better systems, not better questions, as I said. And this is my pun intended, because we're ready for your questions. And I'm gonna stop sharing and I'll be very happy.
I've been selecting, like people have been active, so I've been selecting a bunch of questions. So I'm going to start. It's okay. I'm going to start with Brian, and I'm adding this to the stream. It's how do you provide context for the data analysis, strategy, content, and so on buttons that are below the chat? Now, Meggie, if you can share your screen again, just to show everybody which buttons we mean.
Yeah, sorry, just a second.
That's totally fine. But in essence, you don't have to do anything specific to optimize for those buttons. These buttons are triggering a bunch of systems in the backend, and are optimized to do those types of tasks in a way that they don't. We want to help you not specify what the AI should do or what it should know. Right? So we are creating these specialized agents. We're adding them below the chat. I think Meggie disappeared somehow.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm sharing the screen also. I had some, I pulled up another question and I'm sorry about this, but yeah, this is what we're speaking about.
Okay. On my end, your screen is black, so I'm not sure if this is if you're still there. But there's nothing in particular you need to do to optimize for using those. We call them mini agents. You just use them, and the cool thing is you can also use them inside of your project, so they can work with their specific optimizations. They can work on top of what you have built as project and with your context in there. I hope that answers the question. Okay, then I'm gonna go with another one. For me, it comes from R, and it says, for me, it's quite hard to keep context synced between multiple folders and different client projects. What's the best way? So one of the ways, so this is a problem that we know, it's a problem and an opportunity, but we're aware of this and we are working on improving the UX around this usability or reusability of context. However, for the time being, what I have been doing with a lot of clients is we are setting up the so-called template projects that already include a lot of the context that will be relevant. For example, if you have 3 clients and across those 3 clients, you're going to be doing the same types of services. I set up a template with all the information relevant for the types of services, and the only unique information I add to the new project once I duplicate the template inside of Juma is the client-specific information. So this is one way for us to handle this type of maintaining context around the different projects and clients. Okay, two more questions. We're almost at time. There's a question again by Brian, which is, why are you using Claude versus GPT or Gemini? I think that this is a preference of the entire team, our engineers and the customer success and marketing. All of us are using Claude. We find that it's easier for us to speak to, and we can now seem to have learned how to actually do context and prompt engineering for Claude. So at this point, we are specializing in how to speak to Claude. for us at this point, it doesn't make much sense to switch to learning how to specifically prompt GPT models. We're not very happy with that service, to be perfectly honest. It might be entirely subjective, but really, virtually none of us are doing it. We're using Gemini 3 sometimes, especially when we're working with larger texts. So I personally use it when I have to summarize. So when I'm building projects for clients, and if I have to summarize large documents that they have provided me with, or if I have to summarize a chat that I have used for brainstorming or strategizing or something like that, and I want to, and it's a long chat, and I want to take out the most relevant information or the key points that we have been, or milestones that we've reached throughout the conversation. That's when I switch to Gemini 3. Otherwise, we basically use Claude Opus and Sonnet, and we switch between the two. And we're at time, so I will stop now. I'm not entirely sure if Maggie's still in. Oh, she's here. She came back.
Okay, okay.
I just want to say thank you so much for your participation. This is to the audience. This was great, and it was very engaging. I'm looking forward to being a guest on this podcast again, not podcast, webinar again, if Maggie invites me.
Of course, I will. I loved it, Moni. Thank you so much for joining me. I had so much fun doing this with you, and thank you for everyone once again for participating. I shared my LinkedIn profile inside of the chat. Since we couldn't answer everything, I'll be very happy to answer your questions. um, if you um, if you have any more, so connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm here. And yeah, once again, thank you so much, Moni, and thank you so much, everyone for joining this AI at Work series for context engineering.
One thing, we are going to send the recording at some point.
Yes, tomorrow you'll receive the recording, so you have it and share with your peers that are
Yeah.
working with AI and AI tools. So yeah,
Perfect.
see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.